All right, next, let's queer up trans rights. What is Transgender Day of Visibility and why is it important? Transgender Day of Visibility, celebrated annually on March 31st, is a day dedicated to recognizing and celebrating transgender and gender non-conforming individuals around the world. It's a time to raise awareness of the discrimination and challenges faced by transgender people while also celebrating their accomplishments and contributions to society. This day holds importance especially amidst the ongoing socio-political environment of the country, as it serves as a platform to amplify transgender voices and advocate for equal rights and acceptance. We at Queer News Tonight will be celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility as part of our efforts to challenge stereotypes and foster understanding and acceptance within communities. Transgender individuals often face discrimination, violence, and marginalization simply for being who they are. Transgender Day of Visibility aims to combat this stigma by promoting education, awareness, and advocacy for transgender rights. South Florida will be hosting multiple events on this day to celebrate trans culture and life. SunServe and AIDS Healthcare Foundation will be hosting Let's Have a KiKi, a celebration of Transgender Day of Visibility on March 31st. It's a reminder to acknowledge the struggles and triumphs of transgender individuals, to show support and solidarity, and to work towards creating a more inclusive and equitable society for all, especially for trans youth like Nex Benedict, whom we lost recently. Queer News Tonight, in support of our 11 pillars of our nonprofit mission, did more than 300 stories over and about the trans community and their important place in our LGBTQ+ community, and it will continue despite the attacks we see all around the world. So I'm going to tell you just a tiny little story. Back in maybe 2001, there was this call on Broadway for the first all-Indian cast doing Bombay Dreams, and I got selected for this casting. I ended up going to New York, reading through the script and everything. And at that time in Homestead, I was a Southern Baptist. I had to keep one foot on the floor. We couldn't move too much. So I was very much entrenched in religion. And I remember reading through the script and seeing the hijras, which was like this transgender. I didn't even really know the term transgender at that time. It wasn't so popular, but looked like what we would call transgender today in the script. And I used to think, man, Broadway just has to make everything gay, you know? And so as I decided when I went home that I was going to read more up on the hijras, which was the transgendered people of the Indian community. And I thought, wow, they actually have a place. But I've never seen this on television. I've never seen this portrayed in movies. I decided I'm going to start researching a little bit more when it comes to other cultures, Native American cultures, the Ottoman Empire. And I was shocked that they were all there. They were always there. And somehow, even in the most barbaric societies, they found a place for them. Wow. Like everybody recognized who they were. Sometimes in the Ottoman Empire, they were kind of like the pageant coaches of the women who were in the harem. Yeah. And they were the only people, I guess what they would call men, that were allowed to be in the harems with them to kind of coach them. And I'm like, they didn't just kill them? Wow, they didn't just, I'm thinking that how we were raised in the history that we read, it would seem that they would be just complete outcasts of society, when in reality, they were always integrated.
They were weird at times.
Yeah, and we never learned about it. We never saw it. We don't see depictions of it on mainstream television or in movies. And so that's why it's so important for this Trans Day of Visibility to show that they were always here. Yeah. They were always part of our community. Absolutely. And to get rid of that feeling of like, if something is new to you, there's always that feeling of like, do I kill it or do I love it or do I accept it? If we all knew that they were there from the beginning, that feeling of immediate hate of like, stamp this out, wouldn't be there anymore.
I was so fortunate. When I was working in New York for JP Morgan about 20-something years ago, and I was exposed to my very first transgender woman then. And it was so progressive for JP Morgan, a financial firm, to hire somebody as a vice president as a transgender person. And so I immediately, I was part of the LGBTQ plus network for JP Morgan. And so it was so wonderful in getting interested in getting to know this person and their journey, and just knowing that they're still successful today, just as part of that journey. I see it like 20 years ago, and even today, it's just still like, it's so important to keep that visibility. And it's so great that they have such a, that we have a day just to, give them support. So,
And I think we need to be careful also about always kind of pointing the finger at the other people who have an issue with trans when we do have our own issues right within our own little LGBTQ plus rainbow. And I'm just going to say, I think that gay men probably have the biggest issue where we still have spaces in social areas, in dating areas, in hookup areas, also where trans people are explicitly not welcome. I got an invitation to join a social group through Meetup that the first 2 or 3 paragraphs of it just bashed feminine men, trans men, that we don't want any of that. So, come here if you're kind of this whole sort of mask for mask. We do a lot of talking on the news, I think, about the straight community, the legal community, all of that. But really on that day, we also need to put a mirror up against ourselves and the kind of communities that we create in LGBTQ+.
It has a lot to do with our own misogyny in the gay male community. So I, as a drag queen and cisgender man, I've gotten a lot of of goodies from the trans community. I've gotten bookings. I've had nice conversations. I've had nice hugs when I needed it. I've had just opportunities to learn from them. And I don't make it a point to meet a trans person and have them explain the trans experience to me, because that's not their responsibility. And they can only speak on what they've experienced themselves and what they've seen immediately around them. But I do appreciate getting to know them, befriending a lot of them, having a lot of their numbers in my phone. I have a friend, Ground Zero. He is a local drag king performer. He does fire stunts, stilts, and everything. Ground King, I love you. But just to be in close proximity with great talent and just great, amazing people who just so happen to have the trans experience. We appreciate you. We love you. We want to start and continue to create spaces where you feel not only safe, but valued. Because the trans experience has always been there since day one, but the trans hatred has been more recent in relation to how long time is, whatever. But we just appreciate you, trans community. We love you, and you will always be safe and appreciated in our eyes and our arms. So thank you so much.